what happens in the city centre. We go into the city centre to shop or have food or meet up with friends, you know.
The potential of turning to alcohol and turning to drugs. And that's whenever it becomes not just a mental health issue, it becomes an addiction issue.
Homelessness is an issue that's happened last year, 2 years, 3 years. It's been a long-term issue here in Northern Ireland, and it's been the bottom of the agenda.
Their life in the city centre is very, very different than what we see, you know.
So we're seeing the crisis that we're seeing because of lack of political will, because of lack of investment, because of lack of direction, strategic direction around how we deal with homelessness.
Fighting so their loved ones are more than a statistic. Relatives who've lost family members to addiction arrive at Stormont with a simple message. Their lives mattered, and others who are struggling now matter too.
I'm here today because I lost my daughter 3 years ago to a drug-related incident, and I currently have a son who is a drug addict and is currently in Haybank.
You come up and you get to live in his clothes, you get to live in money for his tuck shop. Obviously, some of the boys in there probably wouldn't have that luxury. There might not be family members that leave money in for them. So you have to go through a process, and it is daunting, but in a way, you're sort of a wee bit of relief as well, because you know he's safe and he's not on the streets in the town. So you know he's alright. Now whenever I went in from a visit today, he's looking fresh, and so that gives you a bit of positivity, no coming back out again. It's somewhere where Thomas is safe. Do you know, I can go to bed at night knowing that he's not going to take a drug overdose. He's not going to be hurt on the streets. He's not going to be on the streets. And I know he's in his cell and he's safe, as much as you don't want him to be in and you miss him. But what's the alternative option, you know? Where do you go, do you know? This shouldn't be a place we come and we clean up drugs, you know. In Northern Ireland, we should have a rehab unit for people to come off drugs. Haybank, you think of how many lives it's saved, do you know? How many young men or women are in there that are addicted to drugs, and now their parents are coming up and you're seeing them fresh, you know.
In June, a larger group met politicians and poignantly left 212 pairs of shoes on the steps of Stormont, one for each life lost to an overdose in 2021.
I got really emotional the last time, getting up and seeing all them shoes on Stormont of all them people that have lost their lives. That breaks your heart.
Aye, sure, why did you just get
Well, Trads, only say no one in.
So we're here today. There's been there was a protest not that long ago, but only 3 politicians came. We've never really had a sit-down meeting, so hopefully today we can get some answers as to what they're going to do in this drug crisis.
So Catherine was my younger sister, died just over 7 years ago. Died from addiction and was homeless in Belfast when she died. For me today is about supporting the Empty Shoes Lost Lives campaign.
Mark struggled with addictions for over 15 years and her mental health, and unfortunately we lost him to an overdose. Dual diagnosis needs to be put in place, and an overdose prevention centre and more support for families.
I just want to start by saying, guys, I'm not here whatsoever to proportionally to point fingers. Unfortunately, Catherine's issues were her issues, and the bottom line was that she couldn't manage her mental health. She couldn't help herself. She was so burdened by demons in her head that no one could ever understand. For me, it's always been about Catherine's mental health issues not been identified, managed and treated at a very early age. You know, and back then, mental health issues, they weren't talked about, they weren't discussed, they were very much a taboo, and I completely understand that, I completely get that. But the underlying fact remains that because she wasn't helping, because she wasn't given the support and the medication that she needed back then, that her only way to live everyday in life was to mask those demons in her head, and that turned to addiction, turned to alcohol, turned to drugs.
I lost my brother 3 years ago in October. I can remember one night in particular, going into the kitchen and he was overdosing, and my mum phoned every single hospital, everywhere, and the words to her that she got was going back on Monday at 9 o'clock. That doesn't work when you're sitting with your son who's suicidal, so high in UTI that you don't know if they're going to make it through the night. So I lost my daughter 3 years ago. She was 18 years of age. She died of a drug-related incident. The day that I buried my daughter, my whole family fell apart. I have a son who won't stop using drugs, who sleeps in the city centre, and he's in Haven at the minute, but when he's out on the streets, these are the people that are shaving my son's head. Because I have a 7-year-old daughter, and I can't leave the house at night because she's in bed. So I rely on these people to look after my child. Now I'm in a position where I work with Lisa's son. I dealt with last week 12 overdoses within 24 hours. 4 of them needed CPR, and every single time I go to one of them overdoses, I see my brother. That is someone's daughter, it's someone's son. We need to get to a point where there is dual diagnosis. Mental health won't look at them with addictions. Addictions won't look at them because it's mental health.
That we have been pushing for certainly is the access to dual diagnosis, and we know that across Northern Ireland we have one dual diagnosis nurse. There's a lot of gaps around how people are being supported, and quite often when they get involved in sort of cause homeless, that cycle continues. The cycle of homelessness, then maybe start using drugs or drink, and for us it's about how we can break that cycle. It's horrific out there. Young people walking our streets lost, overdosing, quite vulnerable, and see the way out of homelessness, see the way out of addiction, it's right out there. It's shocking, what we're seeing. Yeah, just to reiterate, thank you very much for today.
Thank you, Colm. There is the practical reality that we're in a building that isn't working at the minute, and no one telling people what they already know, but it's, I think, at first acknowledging that, and then seeing in each area where we can deal with that. It's a justice issue, it's a health issue, it's an infrastructure issue, it's a council issue, it's a Westminster issue, it's an assembly issue. So, I know you know all this, but it's just recognising that and saying that we're certainly I know that problem.
Thank you.
As a person cannot be completely against their will if they're going down a wrong path to erotic drug use. If you're harming yourself or others or presenting with symptoms of an illness, but those symptoms are being masked through the addiction and the substance misuse. So we need to update that legislation because that is a huge component that will play a part in rehab facilities being effective, because people can't be put into those unless our legislation is going to enable them to work.
In 2014, we had a round table meeting talking about this exact same issue, so it was quite disappointing. So we're nearly 10 years on, and it's just getting worse. So I'm actually ashamed as a politician that we're sitting here today talking about exactly the same issues.
Spent a number of Sunday nights out at Paul in the city centre, and there's just utter chaos.
People are sort of drowning in one point of a river. It's about going upstream and actually finding why are people falling into the river. And actually, that's what we're not doing, because our health service is dealing with people when they take drugs. They are dealing with people when they have a mental health crisis. Housing is dealing with people whenever they've got nowhere to live. And they're all issues that can be changed because they're all guidelines, they're all rules, they're all regulations, legislation that are set from this place and in various agencies. But we need to get this place up and running.
This here with Gabby and the 20th anniversary Good Friday Agreement, where Gabby was sharing her story along with other young people and mothers and refugees, and Gabby was saying 5 years ago there needs to be a place where young people can go hand themselves in. We need to get off substances, and tragically it's no longer here. So we do need action, we need follow up, we need real commitment. So
there should be a centre for younger people where people are able to go in and hand themselves in, or even family members. It could be a rehab. There needs to be a place that is welcoming and open to young people.
So Gabby was a fun-loving, very caring child. We had a bit of a family argument. Well, she just didn't really like the house rules in the house, so she says, oh, I want to live on my own, you know, she wanted to live independently. And I tried to tell her, look, this isn't the way. When the Belfast Health and Social Care Trust tell you they're placing your child somewhere, you automatically think this is going to be safe, you know. It was like an open B&B, you know, people were just flowing and coming and going. And it was just one Saturday morning, she rang and she said that she had been sexually assaulted in the B&B. An arrest was made, but there was no outcome of the arrest. It was just an awful experience, and it affected everybody in this house, you know. Our whole domain changed. Our mental health deteriorated. And the drug taking got worse. And she was crying out for help. And I thought because this had happened to her in the trust's car, that the trust would have bumped her up the list for counselling. But that wasn't the case. Gabby was told she would have to wait 6, 7, 8 months. And she was put into Lakewood. Her drug taking was getting worse and she was at risk. I thought that she was going to get the help that she needed in there, but she didn't get no help. On her 18th birthday, about 2 days before her 18th birthday, she was released from there, let out from there, and 8 weeks later, Gabby was dead.
Here the night, giving clothes and shoes and coats and hats and gloves and scarves out to the homeless. This is part of our campaign that what we're crying out for in Belfast now is an addiction recovery centre, somewhere where people can get clean off drugs. So if you look around here, you would have anything ranging from 17, 18 and up. We're calling for action for something to be done about it, you know. Get back into Stormont, and if you're not going to get back into Stormont, we need help now. Coming into the winter months, December and January, we can't lose any more people on the streets. This is Haven, and they come here every night to feed the homeless, and on a Friday night to distribute clothes. These people are walking about in soaking wet shoes, so a pair of dry shoes means a world to them, you know. And it's just trying to raise awareness.